Welcome to a new episode of The Journey, and today I'm talking with Paul Marshall, the Regional Operations Manager for VRA Rescue New South Wales. Paul has contributed greatly to local emergency services and played a significant role in bushfire and flood response over the past few years as well. He's also won numerous awards, which we'll get into a little bit later. Paul, hello.
Good morning.
Now, Paul, we always like to kick things off by discovering your heritage to the area. So are you born and bred local, or did you move here?
I'm a blow-in. I moved up here in 1994 for university. So Melbourne boy, born down there, and actually travelled the world a bit. I schooled in Singapore for a couple of years, and then came across and got a spot in Charles State University, so I moved up here and loved the spot and ended up marrying a local girl, so I think I'm almost a local now. So yeah. You are. You count after this many years, I think. So what did you study at uni? I did a Bachelor of Applied Science in Ecotourism. So my path through life was always ever going to be, as a kid, I was either going to be a police officer or a park ranger. The park ranger thing popped its head up when I had an opportunity to go to university, so I did that, but quickly found out that after graduating university, to get a good spot within it as a park ranger, you've almost got to wait for someone to die, because the really good ones, they see them right the way out. So so a couple of years of doing some seasonal stuff, and then fell into security and then into the police force. So yeah.
Right, okay. And so how old were you when you first joined the police force?
So I was 20, I turned 25 at the police academy when I went in. So yeah, and it was a bit of a moment, because I had actually applied when I was 18. Yeah. And as an 18-year-old, I didn't know how to spell marijuana and magistrate and all of those important words that you need as a police officer. So so I actually missed out by the spelling, which was probably a good thing, because I think at 18, probably a little bit too young. It was good to get out and experience the world a little and do some other things, and then back in at 25, or 24, and celebrated 25th birthday whilst I was there. So
So you, like me, grew up in the city.
Yep.
And so you came up here just after school. So how did you acclimatise to country living? Obviously, you still enjoy it because you're still living here and you love the area. Yeah. But did you miss the hustle and bustle of the city?
Yes and no. That's a strange answer, but yes, you do, because you've got 24-hour access to a lot of things in town, and there's always something going on. But the country pace, and just that, being able to walk down the street and say good day to, a bunch of people that that's a really nice thing. But it is sometimes good to head down to the city and be the anonymous face and just disappear into the crowd. That's also enjoyable. But yeah, look, it's we are a little big city here anyway, so it's not it's quite country town. It's still plenty to do up here. Great food and great restaurants. So yeah, it wasn't too much of a change. So
yeah, we've seen plenty of changes too in that period, and plenty of growth, but it hasn't lost that feel, I wouldn't imagine, of what you first discovered back in the mid-90s.
Yeah. Look, and it's a very friendly community up here. And once especially when people realise that you're here for, contribute to the community, they accept you really well. So, and I think I've hopefully done a bit of that throughout the time. So
you certainly have, and we're getting to your contributions very soon. But let's take it back then to when you first joined the police force. Yep. So were you immediately put on duty here on the border?
No, I spent nearly 3 years at Heidelberg down in Melbourne, which was actually really good, very close to where my parents live, so that was handy, because it was nearly 10 years to the day that I moved out to start university.
You are back again.
And then 10 years, moved back in and go, hi Mum, hi Dad, remember me? So very handy, because my then fiance was living here, so we had a house up here, but I managed to be able to live down there. Great experience, because it was right at the time of the Commonwealth Games, so I got to spend some time in there working as a police officer in there, and a really good grounding. Heidelberg was a good station. It's busy, and busy enough to give you a good experience, and because it is a central station, 1 minute you're responding into Collingwood and into town, and then the next thing you're out to Diamond Creek and McLeod and some of the country areas. So it was a really good spot to start, and a great crew. Some of the bosses and the sergeants there were great to work under.
Yeah, but what drew you back after 3 years there? I mean, you could have easily, I would imagine, stayed in the city as a police officer. What drew you back here?
Yeah, certainly. We'd had that discussion, my wife and I, about whether we moved to Melbourne or not. Her family's up here. That was one big draw. Different opportunities. The country lifestyle, the country living, and one of the big things is cost of living as well. It is definitely a lot easier to live up here. But yeah, look, again, I knew a lot of people at the Wodonga Police Station. I knew that there were some good people. A lot of good people worked there, so that was one of the big draws. So yeah, and 3 years and just sat back and waited, and next thing there was a spot come up. So back up, and the rest is history. I spent the next 15 years there. So yeah. I've known you as a highway patrol officer. Yep.
Was that your focus right from the start? Was that your area, or just general duties, and then you gravitated towards that? Yeah,
look, it was one of those things. I'd done a lot. I'd done some plain clothes work in Melbourne. So you sort of try a little bit of everything, and I didn't have a right, that's it. Like, you do get people that get in, I am going to be a detective, I am going to be this. I'd always had a draw to the highway patrol, obviously through my volunteer work, road crashes and the like, but and what's not fun about driving nice fast cars, so that's always a big draw card. But look, an opportunity came up, a position came up, so I was like, throw my hat in the ring, and got it, and found that look, it was definitely somewhere I really enjoyed working and really loved working, because you've got 10,000 square kilometres up here to play in. So, we could be in Corryong one day and down towards Bundalong the next. So, it was a great, varied job to do. But look, time and general duties. I'd spent some time doing some temporary duties in detectives and all the like. But, the proactiveness, I think, of the highway patrol was what drew me.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about the link between the policing and the VRA Rescue Squad, Border and Albury Rescue Squad, and how that kind of interacts, because obviously you would have experienced a great number of crashes and serious situations. So was it your experience of seeing those accidents and dealing with the ramifications of accidents, was that what drew you to also volunteering for the rescue squad?
I think the ultimate thing is being able to help. And I know that is a little fairly broad, but it's that ability to know that when you turn up, it is going to make a difference. And whether I was wearing my volunteer uniform or my police uniform, you can turn up and you can make a difference. You can actually immediately start to do something to help someone. In the rescue squad, we do that. I can get the tools out and I can immediately start to cut someone out of a car if that's the case, or we can go searching for someone if they're missing. In the police force, it's slightly different. You can turn up and make a difference by starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together and start to give people answers to what's happened. So it's that being able to make a difference, being able to help. That was what drew me to both.
But for most people, let's be honest, just working as a police officer will well and truly be enough work and enough contribution. But what made you think, you know what, I'm going to spend more of my free time not on just free activities, but actually contributing more by joining the rescue squad?
Yeah, I'd actually joined the rescue probably almost 4 years before I joined the police force, and just through a friend at work. And it was always something that obviously I did have an interest in the police early in my early days. But it was something that drew me along. And the mateship, the friendship, the team you've got down there keeps you coming back. So they're a great bunch of people. And again, just seeing that you can make that difference. Yeah. I did see it, as a bit of a stepping stone to the police force. You go, right, that's going to give me a good bit of information in my back. I can see if I can deal with these situations. So it was good exposure. But it drew me back when I did get back up here and back to living on the border. Straight back in, took up the role as the secretary almost immediately and things like that. So, the fact that the team around you, that they're doing it for free as well, they're volunteering their time, that sort of really does draw you in.
So, talk me through how it works in terms of the structure of the rescue squad and how that works in relation to some of the other services. So, for those that don't know, how does the Albury Border Rescue Squad work in with the SES and with other emergency services, fireys and stuff?
In the last 5 years, VRA Rescue New South Wales has undergone change. We were the Volunteer Rescue Association of New South Wales. It started back in 1962 with basically down here it was a drowning, and a group of blokes and someone just went in the pub and went, right, you've got a boat, you're handy, let's go. And it started as the Albury Border Land and Water Search and Rescue Club. So, and the then boss of Police Rescue up in Sydney saw that there was ourselves here in Albury, there was Dubbo, Narandra had something in Wagga, and he went, everybody's doing a good thing here, let's formalise it. And we were our own entity at the time. We were Albury Border Rescue Squad under the VRA. I sort of describe it like a bit of a Jim's Mowing franchise. So we were our own entity. We were our own association.
Yes.
But we acted under the franchise, which was VRA. 5 years ago, they started to go, okay, we need to just change things and get a little bit more, in line with policies and that. So we're now VRA Rescue. Here in the border, we have SES. But their role is flood and storm. So, if there's trees down, floods, etc. We're the General Land Rescue Squad for the area, so everything else, anything from a cat down a drain, kids with fingers caught in plug holes, to the serious road crashes and things like that, aeroplane crashes we've been to and the like. So and everything in between. So and it's a lot of training. Like you have to become an accredited General Land Rescue operator, so that usually takes about 12 months to 2 years to gain full qualifications. We're now qualified in urban search and rescue as well, in category in the low level, so we don't get all of the fancy surveying equipment out, but the rubble crawls and that. And we had members at our squad involved in the Thredbo disaster years gone by. So when you see that history and you see the white overalls of that was our heritage because it came from police rescue. We wore the white. We're now in the green. But you see that history and you go, I'm part of that. Same with the police force. You see the history and it's bigger than you, but you're now part of it. So it's a brotherhood, a family, whatever title you want to put on it. It's great to be a part of.
Yeah. How difficult is it to manage emotionally, both as a police officer who would witness a lot of horrible situations and crashes, and also as part of the rescue squad? Is it difficult emotionally?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no denying it. And 18 years in the police force, I'm certainly a different person for it, from what I've seen and witnessed and heard and smelt and all the rest of it. Yeah, you can't deny that. How you manage it and how you get through it and how you compartmentalise it, so to speak. I was being lucky through the police force as well. I was part of their welfare peer support program and all the rest of it. So that not only gives me coping tools, it goes to see how I can help others. And again, it's making a difference to someone else. And I think that's one of the things that all the way through is being able to make just helping someone else. And a lot of the time it's, you don't have to solve their problems. It's just sitting with some people just going, we're here to help. It's all good. But look, smells is one big thing with any car accident. I know people that now can't have barbecues. They can't cook a particular type of meat on a barbecue because of the smell. It relates to incidents. So you do see that. We say that in any emergency service, you've got a bucket. Make sure you empty that bucket, because if it gets full and spills over, then that's not a time that you want to be. So you have to look after yourself. I think for me as well, it's, as I said earlier, being able to make that difference. And that's how I look at it, is I go, right, it's a bad situation. It's, if it's a car accident or something, it's a bad situation. But what can I do from this point forward to try and make it better? And when you look at it that way, you actually go, okay, I am making a difference. I am doing something good. So yes, the terrible sights, the terrible sounds and smells, you can deal with it just a little bit better by going, yes, that was terrible, but we had this good outcome, or we had this result. So, So.
Have you drawn inspiration from others, specific people or groups in the way that you manage it all? Yeah, look,
you definitely, throughout my journey, I've taken a lot from other people. So one of the things you see is, I like how that person does that and that person does that. Too many names to mention. Look, I've been mentored by some really great people in the rescue squad. people that just get in and do the job and right, let's do it, the old school gruff guys, right, just pick that up and break that apart and do that. To other people that, the managing side of things going, okay, let's look at the people, let's do all this. Look, there's been, again, hard to name in particular ones, but, throughout the years I've had good sergeants, good thing, and you just a little bit of advice from everybody. I've had good advice, and people also realise that if you take that advice, they're willing to give it. So if you just sit there and go, yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, thank you. No, they just go, okay, I'm not going to waste my time. He hasn't listened to me. But if you take it and you digest it, then, it'll keep coming. And that was one of the things I learnt. And back in the academy, I was told you've got 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in that ratio. So listen and look about what's going on a lot more than you speak. And it does. It puts you in good stead. And when you do that, especially at a scene, you can look and absorb and see what's going on before you actually speak. You take that moment, you breathe. There was an old member, I only got to work in the rescue squad with him for a very short time before he passed away. Tommy was his name, and one of the things he would do was walk into a scene and he would roll a cigarette and look it around, roll a cigarette, put it behind his ear, and then go, right, lads, this is what we're going to do. And it's that moment to process.
Yes. And
ground yourself. And, so you just take that little moment and, so you just have to pull in from a lot of other sources. Yeah.
Well, just on that, what attributes? Because I would imagine that there would be a lot of people, maybe who have wanted to help over the years, but just aren't quite right in terms of what they need to be successful in it and to work well within the group. So, what attributes are really important?
One of the things I'd say would be a duck. So look very calm on the surface, but underneath you might be paddling like all hell. That's a really good, because especially in a serious situation, if you run in going, oh my God, look, everything's on fire, it's going to, everybody ends up. But if you just walk in and, like Tommy did, walk in, roll your cigarette and go, rightio, it's that cool, calm and collected. It might well just be a very good mask that you wear. And over time it becomes easier. So you are going, right, okay, little things like, a little bit of advice. So they go, never run into a scene. Just walk, absorb it. It's for safety reasons and everything. There's hoses and debris and all sorts of stuff. But I think analytical, just to be able to see things and go, right, what have I got? And also one of the things I always say to people is it's like eating an elephant. It's one bite at a time. And some of those bites are going to be really tasty. There's some really nice meaty parts. Some of those parts aren't going to be so tasty.
Yes.
But you have to look at it and go, it is an elephant. It is huge. But I can work through this. So you've got to compartmentalise. You've got to break it down. And that's one of the things I can see. And throughout in some of the business that I've had to be involved in, that if you just break it down into bite-sized pieces, if you try and take the whole big picture in one, it can be overwhelming. So you've just got to, and that ability to prioritise, to just break it down, it makes things a lot easier in the long run.
Yeah. So you had the 2 roles as a police officer, highway patrol officer, and you were also in the VRA. But then you made the decision to focus just on the rescue squad. So was that a difficult decision for you to make, and why did you eventually make that decision to leave the police force?
I actually left the police force to go into Resilience New South Wales, which was the old Office of Emergency Management, which I still am part of. But thankfully along the way, yes, there was being able to, when I left the police force, it allowed me, just because of the conflict of interests and outside interests, it's hard to have a second paid job. Volunteerism they love, but that's second paid. And now as a regional operations manager, I'm not paid a fortune, but it's a retained job. So yes, I am paid, and I do have a vehicle and the like, so I can give more time to it. And now I'm able to balance that with working for the New South Wales government, which is good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's almost a different question to really ask, but did you feel like you contribute more in this space than as a police officer? What ultimately made? Because I know that you enjoyed both and you felt fulfilled with both roles.
Absolutely.
But what nudged it over the line for the rescue side?
Oh, look, I think it's one of those moments where you look at your life and you start going, okay, I'm not the 25-year-old I was when I joined up. Where am I going? What am I doing? there was the path for promotion and whatnot in the police force, but looking around going, okay, I could do that, and I could, where am I going to be? Where am I going to be in 10 years? And I could see that, the skills that I had, as you mentioned earlier, through floods and fires. I've been through the Black Saturday fires. I've been through the Black Summer fires, all the flooding up in Lismore just recently. I was up there. So you look at that and you go, okay, what can I contribute? Yep, I could be in the police car driving around, and yes, we're giving out tickets in the highway patrol and all that sort of stuff, trying to be proactive, trying to educate people, and a little bit reactive when something does happen, like a car accident. But in the other roles, the balance will be a little different. So yes, we can be reactive, same thing. I can still have my fix of red and blue lights when we get a car crash, but I can also, one of the things I've looked at is I can now influence others. So, I have more. I did a bit of training throughout the police. We get trainees in, you take them out and all the rest of it. But now, as a regional operation, I can look after a whole region. I've got 220 volunteers in 10 squads that we look after. So, yeah, I can play a role in, their welfare, just little things like, getting them a laptop for the squad so they can do better training. Little things like that. And also just with the change of the VRA, being able to influence in that change and see that it's going to be better for the future.
Yeah. So am I right in saying you're less hands-on now at emergency scenes, or do you still...
I have to be. It's hard sometimes. Just being me, you do want to get in there. Even just when I took on the captain's role, it's that moment of, okay, just take a little step back. For example, only 2 weekends ago, we're up at Jenolan Caves to help assisting New South Wales Police, a homicide investigation and missing person. We were trying to find evidence and possible human remains. So, I packed everything. I get my backpack and my thing and my boots and everything, and it was like, oh no, you're operations manager, you're here at the command post, and you're going to be. And you go, oh, okay. And I know I can do it, and I know I can help the guys, but you're still like, oh, I'm seeing 50 odd volunteers out there tramping every day, and you want to be out there with them to help because, and you sort of get back and they've got sore feet and they're a bit wet and cold, and you sort of look back going, oh yeah, I got to sit in a warm, especially on the last day when it started snowing up there, and I'm sitting, it was still cold, but you do still want to be out there with the guys, but you realise as well that you go, okay, I now have a different role to play, and I have an overarching role, so I can play a different and keep all of these volunteers by, ensuring that they're fed and watered, ensuring that their welfare is okay, making sure that they have all the correct coordinates so that they don't get lost. So it's a shift, but it takes a little getting used to because you still do want to get out and get your hands dirty, and I still do. When there's call outs, I'll still go and jump in a boat and help people. So, but we've got a very competent and talented crew here now, so I am able to step back a little. So
yeah, and an interesting aspect is when I look at you, and I've known you for quite a number of years, and you always look, I would say, happy and fulfilled with what you're doing. You always look like this is the life that you were meant to live. But do you ever kind of think that, I wonder what would have happened if I became a park ranger? Or have you had one of those sliding door moments?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I even thought, if I had have gotten the police force at 18, I wouldn't be here. I would have probably been in Melbourne. I wouldn't have probably never come to the Wodonga Albury region. So, that would have been very different in my life. I never would have met my wife, all of that sort of thing. So, had I have gotten the police force at 18, that was different. Had I have gone straight out of university, I was offered a couple of rangers jobs. Straight out of university, they were in the back of beyond somewhere, and as a 22-year-old chappie going, oh man, I'm never going to see a pub again in my life, So, you do have those moments where you do start to think, oh, look, and if I had have taken it, my life would have been, one of the jobs was in West Australia, so I could have been miles away. You do think about it. But it was one of those things. I look back, even my mother used to say, I've got photos, dress up day at school. And I was the police officer kid, go to the show, and I was always on the police motorbike and that sort of thing. So I think it was there very early for me. So it was difficult to step away from the police force because it is you, and you're told day one you will always be even when you're out, you will always be the former police officer or the retired police officer. So you wear that. And some people see it as a burden. I see it definitely as a badge of honour. You go, yep, no, I have served, and I've done my bit. So, and now it's with the volunteering. You can wear that badge and go, yep, I've been privileged. I've had a few titles thrown at me with that. So,
yeah. Well, let's turn our attention, because I know that you don't do it for awards and recognition, but it is obviously a way that you can tell that your contributions have really made a difference. So I know you've won the Emergency Services Medal and Rotary Emergency Services Award. Yep. I'm probably missing some as well. Talk me through your perspective on awards and what they mean to you.
Yeah, look, very early, through Black Saturday. I was involved Black Saturday. I remember I was on shift and I got a call. It's turned to, I won't use a language, out in Beechworth, let's go. And after that, I was, you need to put in for the national medal. There's a national medal put in for it. I'm going, oh, okay, what's that about? Oh, it's a national medal. You put in so I nominate myself for a medal. Like, I couldn't get my head around that. I'm like, how do I nominate? And I do sort of, and I'm kicking myself a little. I didn't at the time, but I still can retrospectively. But, you sort of go, well, no, I did what I was asked to do. I was asked to go out and help and evacuate people and all the rest of it. And but I had an inspector tell me that the award's not for you. It's nice to put on your chest when you're all dressed up and all the rest of it. It's for your family. It's for your partner. It's for everybody around you to go, yes, we know that guy. And yep. And it's amazing when things like that do come in, how people do start to come out and go, oh yeah, you helped me with this and I remember this. And so there's been a few. In 2019, I got the Rotary Emergency Services Volunteer of New South Wales, and then the first national. That was rather, humbling. They always say, don't use that, wear it proudly, and you do, but it still gives you a lot of sense of humility. And then just this year I received the Emergency Services Medal, which now apparently I've got post-nominal, so I can officially now be Paul Marshall ESM, and all of that stuff comes with it. And look, it's, again, you go up to Government House in Sydney, and the governor, she presented it to me, and she was even the one that says, you're not allowed to be I'm not going to say the word, you're not allowed to take it with humility today, you have to wear it proudly. So, and you do. And having my mum in the room was a big positive, and so you sort of look at it and go, okay. And you do sort of look at some awards and you go, there was a bravery award there where a fella had got into an overturned car and saved the person, and then here's me getting up and I get my medal, and you go, I didn't jump into a car like he did. I've cut plenty of people out of cars, but he was, it happened in front of him. But when you look at the cumulative effect and you look and you go, okay, all right, And there was, early in the piece, there was a TED talk that I watched called The Lollipop Moment, and it's about a guy it's a university, and he was a student counsellor, just gives a young bloke a lollipop, and he said, you know what, the girl in front, she was upset, she didn't want to be there. That girl in front, you need to give her this lollipop and change her day, make her happy. Did that. It was just his daily job. He just did it. And years later, when he was leaving the university, she came up with a baby and her husband, which was the fella that gave her the lollipop.
Oh, wow.
And you look and you go, and you think about it, going back now, you go, how many lollipop moments have I had?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've done something in a car crash and someone survived and managed to go and get married and have a baby. There are a couple. We've been at the market selling raffle tickets, and I've had a lady come up with her little, probably 2 or 3 year old daughter, and she openly said, look, if you guys weren't there to get me out of my car, the little one probably wouldn't be here.
Wow.
And you sort of look, and I remember the accident, but you have those little moments where you go, oh wow, okay, I have actually affected 2 lives there.
Yeah.
But I was doing what I was doing. Well, the call goes out, oh, it's another car accident, let's go, do what you're trained to do, and but when you look back at those, and there's probably numerous ones that I don't even know about, and that when you're looking, and we were talking before about PTSD and all of that bad stuff, if you can balance it with some of that good stuff, you go, it's not so bad.
Yeah, and that's the difference to most of us. You genuinely giving people the opportunity to have lives that they potentially never would have had because of what you've done. I just want to change tack a little bit,
Sure.
and I'm not sure how much you can talk about this, but it would be remiss of me not just to touch on the COVID years. Now, obviously, the police had to you had to do things that maybe even personally you didn't agree with. Obviously, here you had to stop people from just living their lives in a cross-border community. How difficult was that for you? Because again, you're all individuals, and I'm sure you all have your differing opinions on it. So, how difficult was that?
Yeah. Oh, look, there was absolutely times where you sit back and even at any large-scale event like that, fires and anything, you look back and you go, oh, what are you thinking? Look, prime example was with the border closures, and I was in the Highway Patrol, and when we saw it all happening in the New South Wales side, there was a group of us, sergeant and a couple of inspectors, we all went, right, okay, if this flips tomorrow, what are we doing? What if, someone sitting in Parliament House in Victoria goes, I decree that we're going to shut our border. What do we do? So we went along and we did a plan, and, all the 42 different river crossings along the border. Yep, okay. And we do that. And then they come along from Melbourne and they've gone, nope, we know better. We've just done the Ring of Steel. Watch us go. And we sat back watching the freeway and you go, it's different. We live in the country. It's different. And, that's a Hume freeway. It's a very different beast from any other freeway in the world. So, yeah, it was frustrating. You do have moments of just going, what are you doing? You work through it. You realise, again, it's the elephant scenario. It's a bigger picture. So even though one or two, we had days where you're just going, what is going on here? Why are we doing it? And, absolutely you do. But you also look going, there is a bigger picture. There are some smarter people out there that are obviously making this decision, right or wrong. They're doing it for a reason, and we saw the protests afterwards. My cousin joined the police force. She was involved. She had to be down there when they were having all those protests in Melbourne. And I get the angst of people, but I also look and I go, that's my little cousin. And people are throwing bottles of urine at her and all of that sort of thing. And you go, really? Like, come on. So, yeah, it does take a lot. And during fires even, when you're evacuating people and you're just, you're sitting there going, you have to go. And they don't, oh, but my pet, I know that, but it's hard. And, but, where are we at? And as long as you can, if you can make informed decisions, if you can have a little bit of background, and look, ultimately as well, there is sometimes with a police officer you just have to go, you know what, it's not me, it's the uniform, it's the job, I'll just do what I'm told to do. And as hard as that is sometimes, that is one thing you do have to do. Same as with the rescue, sometimes you just got to go, okay, that's nasty, but I've got to do it because I made the decision to put this uniform on, wear that badge, whatever the case may be. Yep, I know that there was police officers left over the vaccine mandate and all the rest of it, but I looked and I'm like, again, there's people out there that are smarter than me making these decisions, so I'll make an educated decision myself, but I'll take a lot of, what they've got to say. Conspiracy theories aside and all of that sort of stuff, you do look and you go, okay, we have to, and again, it's looking at bigger than you. It's not just, I don't like it, so I'm not going to do it. It's, I don't like it, but I have to look at it in a community, in a world, in a state picture. So sometimes you've just got to open up that vision.
All right, now we are running out of time. I could literally talk to you for hours and hours. So I'm just going to fire off some quick fire questions for you, but you can't spend too long answering them. But I want to get as many through as I possibly can. What was the worst excuse you ever heard for speeding?
I have to go to the toilet.
And is that used fairly often?
It's used a lot, and they've just driven past a service station. I won't use the language that they do use, but I have to go to the toilet. That's a genuine one. Other people just like, and it always made me laugh that you were and they look down at their speedo and you go, well, you stop now, so your speed is going to be 0. So it's no point looking at your speedo now because you're not telling how fast you're going at the moment. But going to the toilet is a regular one.
What was the most exciting rescue that you have been a part of?
I have dragged people clinging to snags out of the river. Managed to pull a boat up alongside of them, and they had that moment where you literally pull them in the boat and they collapse because they are just physically drained. And knowing that, a couple more minutes, that person may have let go, and we may have been searching for a body after that. So those ones are big. It's a childhood dream. You kick that goal on the final siren, you do that. Those ones where you've gone, we've literally dragged someone out of the car and it's on fire in a minute, and those type of things. There's been a few of those. They're good ones where you sort of go, right, I was in the right place at the right time, thankfully. And my skills and training and equipment did what they were supposed to do.
A lot has been talked about lack of volunteers, especially post-COVID. How are you finding that, firstly? And secondly, what would you say to anyone who is considering volunteering for something like the VRA Rescue Squad?
Look, there's definitely been a shift. We've actually been very lucky down here that the last... Probably we have had a few people through the door in the last couple of years since COVID, and predominantly we've had young females, which is really good because it adds that diversity, it adds a different level, and they're go-getters as well. That's one of the things. I think the difference with volunteering these days is give what you can. Don't look at people like me. I'd give everything I can. Talk to my wife. There's no free moment. It's I finish work and the phone's still ringing. I'm still answering emails. That's me. Don't judge by that. That's my silly decision. But look, I think it's one of those what you can give. And actually my mother said there's a generation at the moment. We have an iPhone, we have an iPad, and it's very much I'm looking at What do I get? But you have to open that vision and go, right, what can I do with the community? What can we do better? So, and it's rewarding. That's, you're getting something and you get to be part of it. And for me as well, it's a hobby. I know that sounds very strange, but it's something that, I can step away from and switch off what else is going on in life and just focus on some of the hard stuff with rescue. So, yeah.
And thinking ahead, what's next for you and the family?
Look, hoping to continue with VRA Rescue and move up and help on a larger scale at a state level. That would be great. I'm playing a part in that now, thankfully, with the new commissioner. I'm helping him out, and that's big. Look, I think Albury's got me hook, line and sinker, so I'm not looking at moving anytime soon. There has been the carrot dangled with the Queensland Police. They're offering all sorts of incentives and the like, so, I'll move up here and move up there. The police force still has its claws in me, every day, and thankfully Victoria Police have something where you can leave, but you've got 5 years, you can head back at rank, so that is still there in the back of my mind going, every now and again I'm like, I could do it, and then there's days I'm like, no. But so that draw is definitely still there, but it will be emergency services. It's my blood now. It's what I do. It's and just being able to help in those times of large scale emergencies, just to be your part of the jigsaw puzzle. That's just, if I can just keep doing that, it'll keep me happy.
All right. Now, we always end with, and I literally could spend hours and hours talking to you, but we are out of time. But we traditionally wrap up with 3 simple questions. Well, actually, sometimes not quite so simple. If you were able to invite 3 people to your dinner party, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Simon Sinek is one. He's a motivational speaker about leadership. He just has some very interesting views of the world and just grounding views. So, I think he'd be just really good conversation. You've got to have someone like, the Frank Sinatras of the world or the Elvis Presley. So I'll say Frank Sinatra just because of the stories, just because of the, what they can bring and just blow your mind of the things that used to happen in days gone by. And I think the third would probably be probably my mother, just because she's been with me through thick and thin, and she can have a good old conversation with Frank Sinatra. She loves to chat, but she has a lot to say as well. So those 3.
Is it wonderful to make your parents proud? Your mum and dad? Is your dad still?
Dad. We're thankful. He had a very big health scare last year, so he's still with us. He fell over with a heart attack, and again, being in the emergency services realm, you know how lucky he is. They're both there. He couldn't make it to the medal presentation because of his health, but Mum was there.
Yeah.
And it gets very dusty in any room when you see your mum sitting there and she's crying, and all of a sudden you're holding back the tears. So it does make you proud.
All right, last two. Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Oh, you're sweet, man. I would have thought you'd be a savoury.
No, chocolate is a vice.
All right, final question. Actually, no, we'll throw in a couple more. Just very quickly, plans for the weekend?
Well, I've actually got to head up to an emergency services exercise.
I knew it would have something to do with that.
but the Saturday we'll be celebrating my wife's birthday. So,
very nice. And finally, do you have any good recommendations for us, whether it's something you're reading, watching, listening to?
Yeah, look, I've just recently been into the Gary Jubilin podcast, I Catch Killers, and there's a bit of a local flavour there. Graham Sinfendorfer, one of the detectives I work with.
Yes.
He's had a few. Very interesting because Gary interviews all sorts, from prostitutes to murderers to criminals. So that's really hooked me in for the moment. Other recommendations. Thai food at the moment. I'm loving Thai food.
There we go. Thai food.
But so they're probably my two at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Paul Marshall, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I knew it would be fascinating. And it's just, we've only just kind of felt like we've just touched the surface of it, really, but it's been fascinating to find out a little bit more about your story. Thanks so much for joining me.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.